I said the 219.
Hello and welcome to it, and it's the time that we look at what is happening, what is making news in terms of the country. A lot of people are talking about a lot of things happening which they think is not in order in terms of how people are acquiring certain things. It could be money, it could be mansions and the like. And to help me discuss this in the studio today, I have Mr. John Kasanga, who is the acting chairman for IC, that is Financial Intelligence Center, to look at what is happening and how their reports have been going through to the public and how they have been receiving, to make sure that everyone gets to understand what is happening on the ground. So join me as I talk to Mr. John Kasanga so that we get to understand and know more of what is happening when it comes to their reports. Mr. Kasanga, welcome to this interview.
Thank you very much. It's good for you to have me.
Thank you so much. Would want to find out, the operations of, the organization. You are the chairman of Financial Intelligence Center, and a lot of reports have been coming through. We just want to get to understand how your institution is operating and how it has been received from various institutions. But to kickstart, let's look at, the background. What is FIC and what is its mandate?
Thank you very much, and let me also extend my gratitude to your station for having me, and also, in a way, engage the public in what is suddenly becoming a very topical issue, the FIC. What is this FIC? The Financial Intelligence Center is a creation of Act number 46 of 2010. Initially, it started as a little unit under the Ministry of Finance, largely in response to Zambia's international commitments. Because Zambia is a state party to the establishment of financial intelligence units. These are now established across the world. Even in China, there is FIU. So initially, it was a secretariat just to get the groundwork, get the institutional framework put in place, and eventually the first appointments of the board were done in September 2012 under the late President Michael Sata, and then immediately the board took over functions from the secretariat, and the FIC became operational. And in the first thing that the FIC did was to recruit full-time personnel, including the Director General and the rest of the technical staff that have been running. So I would say that the FIC has really been active from 2013. Yeah.
Okay. From the time it was set up, at least you have given us,
yes,
where it is coming from, how it is started. But when it comes to reports now, how has been the response, or have these reports been, being released to the general public?
Okay, perhaps if you permit me to just share with the public the critical functions of the FIC, so that the context becomes clearer because the reports is something that we do annually, but I think it's got to be understood in the context of our functions. The FIC is what is called the sole designated authority in Zambia that can request, receive, analyze, and disseminate suspicious analysis on suspicious financial transactions. What do I mean by that? All reporting entities, especially financial institutions, and even those that we call designated non-financial businesses and professions, such as real estate agencies, the accountancy profession and their members, the legal profession and their members, casinos, they are all mandated to submit suspicious transaction reports to the Financial Intelligence Center. Whenever they see a financial transaction that is unusual, they are required by law to submit to the Financial Intelligence Center. So the Financial Intelligence Center analyzes those reports, and where it is established that there is actionable intelligence, a crime has been committed, then a dossier is prepared and passed on to the appropriate law enforcement agency. If it's a matter concerning corruption, the dossier is passed on to SEC. If it's a matter involving money laundering, the dossier goes to the Drug Enforcement Commission. If it's a matter involving tax, it goes to the Zambia Revenue Authority. Or if you are talking about issues of bribery, fraud, we engage the Zambia Police Service. Occasionally, we engage directly with supervisory authorities, such as the Bank of Zambia. As you know, they supervise banks. We sometimes also engage the Pensions and Insurance Authority when it involves activities of their members, because they've got the legal framework to deal with the inappropriate behavior of the institutions that they regulate. So our role is to collect and analyze intelligence where there are grounds to suspect a particular financial transaction or series of financial transactions or tenders, whether private or public, that result in financial malfeasance.
So far, from the time it was set up to where we are,
Yes.
how many reports have you released, and how has been the reaction to both, the private and government at large?
Okay, let me first of all ensure that we are clear when you say reports. Firstly, as an institution, we are required by law to table our annual report to the Minister of Finance, which covers the audited financial statements through the Auditor General or their nominee audit firm, and then also our report of activities during the year, which we have to do before the end of 3 months every year. And I'm proud to say that we always keep to that deadline, at least so far. When it comes to engagement of the public, we provide what we call a trends report. And since the commencement of the Financial Intelligence Center, we have shared with the public 4. The current one of 2017 is the 4th. As I mentioned earlier, we started real operations in 2013. So we generated, in that first year, we're getting things together, and we did our annual reports. But when it came to the trends report, the first one was 2014. So we have done 2014, 2015, 2016, and the most recent one, which you have a copy of, is 2017. And for the sake of your viewers, I hope they can see this. This is for example, 2015 trends report, which we published. And this was shared with the general public in 2016, because we tend to finish the year, put together our key highlights of what we thought happened in the year, and then we share with the general public and other stakeholders, including the reporting entities, the people who give us the suspicious transaction reports. They need to know what we're doing with the reports they give us. For example, this is 2016. We provided another report in 2016, and of course, what is now the controversial one is 2017. And I will invite you to look at each of these reports. They contain similar information. We've got case studies, we give statistics, and every financial intelligence unit in the world prepares these reports. And they are called trends reports. Some jurisdictions call them typologies reports. And what do I mean by typologies? They draw out from the intelligence analyze what are the typical crimes that are being committed, or what are these suspicious transactions associated with? Is it tax evasion? Is it corruption? Is it bribery? Is it money laundering? So we analyze the typologies in order to establish what is Zambia facing. Are we seeing a surge in corruption cases, or is it money laundering? Is it financing of terrorism, or is it tax evasion, for example? Now, those typologies enable us to now link, because corruption is what we call a predicate crime. That's a crime you can prosecute. Okay? So the trends report will give you statistics on the suspicions that were reported to us. They'll tell us, we'll try and create a typology to say what type of suspicion. All right? And then, when we analyze We analyze these reports, dig in, pull evidence together that we believe is necessary. If there's materiality in the suspicion, we then develop a dossier that provides all the details of the transaction. If it's properties that were procured, if it's people who were paid, we establish who was paid, how much they were paid, where that money is sitting, or where that money was now used to buy other property or passed on to relatives. And in some cases, we have established that there's some of our colleagues in the legal profession who are utilizing client accounts facilities to hold money on behalf of people engaged in what we call suspicious transactions, who we believe are holding money that is illicit. So we prepare those brochures with the details to the extent possible, and which is what we now call actionable intelligence, which we then pass on to the relevant law enforcement agency. If it's a matter of tax evasion, we engage the ZRA to say, guys, we've analyzed here's 1 or here's 6 dossiers that we believe should be of interest to you. And by the time we are releasing that dossier, we do our best to do thorough analysis. When we are not confident that there isn't enough circumstantial evidence, we hold on to it until maybe evidence is picked up. But
now,
yes,
let's look at this. As much as you find, those findings and you give it to the relevant authority, it could be ZRA, it could be, ACCA. Have you been receiving reactions to those after you report that this is what we found? You can do your works. Have you been, having some response to say, okay, on that matter we managed to get this and that?
I think there are very simple ways of obtaining reaction. Firstly, do we read about a case being in court, which we know is as a result of our work. That's one way, okay. Very easy way. The other way is we work closely with these institutions, and they'll sometimes come and report to say, no, we are still reviewing the file, or this thing is still under investigation, or we don't really think there's enough evidence to proceed with the prosecution. Sometimes they'll give us that feedback, but it is their right, it is their role. Ours finishes when we've passed on the dossier.
Okay. So that's what we wanted to know, because maybe you may give information to certain, departments, and they sit on that information of which you think the public need to, to get more of what is happening. But let's look at this report which I have now. This is the 2017 one, which has received much attention from, various institutions. What are your findings in it, and what do you think it is different from these others which you released that now everyone is talking about the 2017 report?
I think there are a number of issues that provide the backstory to 2017. Just before I get to answer that, I wanted to suggest that clearly with our trends report might be placing our colleagues in law enforcement in a corner to say, like in this report we disseminated 425 dossiers to them, and however I think it's 6 or 7 that appears to be active and 1 conviction. So I would suggest that they also need to have their say about the cases that they're working on. And I don't know if they have a forum, or you could provide a forum for them to also explain what constraints or what they are doing, because that story is not known, so people are speculating, and it might appear like we're trying to make them look bad. They also have their own environment. Maybe they've got constraints, or maybe they see things differently from the FIC. So that I thought is important, so that we have a balance right across. But coming now to your specific question, I believe that 2017 report has attracted greater public attention, largely as a result of our own efforts at outreach. We've been doing a lot of awareness programs as the FIC, because as you are aware, financial crimes involve citizens and those who are resident in Zambia at various levels. It could be the clerk who moves the file, a big document who is told, remove it, we want to add a page. You see what I mean? There you're beginning to see financial crimes. It could be at the tender where somebody prepares a separate dossier to suit someone to get a tender. So the engagement, we've engaged institutions, we've been, even those who are reporting entities, and even the general public. We've been, for example, to Western Province and covered 6 districts, talking to local leaders, talking to community members, sensitizing them. And we will, if we had resources, we would like to do this countrywide. So there's that element of engagement of the public, so that you raise awareness. Now, in 2017, as you may be aware, of late there have been so many issues or public concerns with procurement, government procurement. And some have questioned the values, some have questioned how people were awarded tenders, and so forth. And it just so happens that our case studies seem to be resonating with the concerns. I would say resonating in inverted commas. Appear to be resonating with the public concerns. And there's conjecture as to who we mean in the case. We have not mentioned any person. We've not. All our case studies are illustrated. But it's like the public has seen beyond that illustration.
They are able to tell that this is connected.
There is conjecture going around. And that conjecture seems to also be causing problems with people who believe they may be affected directly or indirectly. So 2017, I think, has been topical. As you know, last year, there were lots and lots of accusations. You are aware that you have some civil activists who are in court because they were protesting at Parliament over a tender, for example. You get my point?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of public awareness. And over the years, we've also, during our launch of these publications, reached out to various segments of society, civil society, reporting entities, law enforcement. We've been very broad because this is a public institution that is sharing its findings with the rest of the public. And as we say, the fight against financial crimes involves every member of our Zambian society. So the interest that I see this report has attracted is largely that there's greater public awareness, which even this interview enhances, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, government spokesperson stated that when releasing this report, you didn't follow the right procedure. Your comment on it?
I believe it's just a simple misunderstanding, because first of all, the question is, what is the procedure? The procedure is simple. We disseminate dossiers. These are files with details of our results of the analysis to the appropriate law enforcement. That's very different from this. This is purely an annual report sharing with the public the trends. For example, the 2017 reports, it talks about, it gives statistics on number of suspicious transaction reports over the period. Okay, going by year from 2014, giving you the trends. And for example, if I take you to this page, you will see that because of our engagement with the reporting entities, you can see that the number of reports we're receiving are going up, because they are more aware of the dangers of financial crimes. And if they come across a suspicious transaction, they report to us. So we share with the public this kind of statistics. We also share with what we call typologies. When we receive these reports, for example, we'll highlight reason for suspicion. Okay, and it will be activity inconsistent with customer profile, like their bank account. Suddenly from nowhere you are receiving so much money in your account. That activity is inconsistent, isn't it? That could be the reason for suspicion. It could be, for example, many third parties making deposits in one account. Suddenly you've got someone coming, they put money, and it's all about irregular financial flows in or out of bank accounts that attract attention, or where people are suddenly using huge amount of money. Suddenly they're buying cars, they're buying buildings, and you say, now, where's this money? Where's this money coming from? So this is what we call reason for suspicion. So we'll give you statistics and show what the main trends are, which is why it's called a trends report. So this trends report provides such statistics. It also includes statistics of the disseminations we did to to law enforcement agencies, and then we provide case studies. Like in this case, we've got two main case studies we provided. This case study one, which involved the public utility vehicles, and then we did another one which was associated with what we consider to be fraud, corruption, and tax evasion. We show basis of the results of our analysis, what was involved. We do these things. We do these things, and there's this one also on the what we call politically exposed persons suddenly receiving a lot of money in their accounts, and you can link it to tenders here and there. We give these, and in any of these illustrations, you will not see a single name, either of a ministry, government, person, company. We sanitize this, but we are illustrating how financial crimes are being committed, so that people are aware. That's all we do. And if I show you this, and I go to 2016, I'll show you similar charts. In 2016, we had the cases of an NGO and law firms being used to move funds amounting to $12 million, which they started sharing. Okay. We showed a chart of how that money moved and what it was used for. This was 2016. We provided this involving a matter of $12 million, where NGOs were receiving money from overseas, but actually money was then being laundered within the country. And then the use of accounts of lawyers to help launder the money. We showed a chart last year as one illustration. When we've got these others on case study, we did 3 case studies last year, and I want to show you something very interesting. Where we had a very detailed case study in 2015, where we showed politically exposed persons, how money was moving between relatives, between people, coming from tenders.
It's very interesting.
And we did another chart where it is theft, tax evasion, and money laundering. That was 2015. If you study this chart, you see where the money is coming from, where it is being paid through what channels, and money being used to purchase property and other items are being transferred abroad, in some cases to pay school fees for children. We can show it, because these days you cannot hide money. Money has to pass through at one point, whether it starts through a bank or through some transaction. As long as there's a transaction, there can be a trace of that transaction. You buy a car, the car has to be registered. You may give it to your brother, isn't it? But it will still be tracked, and that brother will have no means to afford it to buy the car. You can still trace it. You buy a house, the house is standing. Somebody has to be a registered owner of that house. Whether it's a nominee, you can still see the legal and beneficial owner, or you look at behavior. So it's very easy these days to track financial flows and what they are used for, whether it's to be stashed abroad or whether it's to purchase goods and services or to pay people.
Now let's look at this. Because of the 2017 report, which has received much attention from the general public, and now the Patriotic Front is demanding for dissolve of the board and the CEO to be prosecuted. Your take on it?
It's unfortunate, because what the FIC is doing is actually we are actually discharging the mandate for which it was established on behalf of the government. And it's the PF government that is ruling. And I would like to advise the members of the Patriotic Front who are calling for this to go back and read the speeches of His Excellency, the President, and his take about corruption. And they should tell me if what the FIC is doing is inconsistent with what the President has been saying. If there's anything we're not doing that is right, as a public institution, we should be subject to scrutiny. We need to be made accountable. Let them come and say, this is inconsistent or is illegal. And of course, we'll discuss whether it's us or those who come after us. The important thing is the institution is not only critical to this economy and protecting the integrity of our financial systems, it's also a way of reassuring the international community that Zambia is good for business. There's, we have curtailed or are able to tackle corruption effectively and these other financial crimes. We need to give an international assurance that Zambia is a good investment destination. And if our colleagues in the Patriotic Front feel that because we disseminated Trends report, then we've done something wrong, let them come and explain how it is wrong and what is contained in the Trends report that they don't agree with. Now, no one has said what they don't agree with. They've said we are spreading rumors. I'll be very honest with you. Where we are not satisfied that there's actionable intelligence, we do not disseminate.
Okay.
We only disseminate where we know there's actionable intelligence. So we do not disseminate rumors. It's not possible. First of all, even if we disseminate it, the people who act on those disseminations are law enforcement anyway.
Now we're looking at those law enforcement. Let's look at when you invite these briefings and the like, when you give out that information to the public, mostly you do invite the Attorney General. What's the significance? Because if at all, you would have guided to say you can't, release this information maybe, or later we are still doing this and that. But what is the significance of him being present when you are doing such kind of work?
Okay, I think, the Attorney General wears a number of hats. He's the chief lawyer of our government, and that position holds that responsibility. But more importantly for us, the Attorney General is chairman of what is called Anti-Money Laundering Authority. There's an authority, an anti-money laundering authority, which you as the press perhaps need to discuss more so that the public are better informed. He's chairman of the Anti-Money Laundering Authority, and that Anti-Money Laundering Authority meets every quarter with representatives of law enforcement, with the FIC, and various other key actors, including the Bank of Zambia. They meet every quarter to review to what extent our country is being exposed to illicit financial frauds, whether coming in or going out. What are the actions being taken to address this? Are there any new developments that need to be shared between the various parties? So he is the chairperson of the Anti-Money Laundering Authority. And our FIC is responsible for analyzing suspicious transactions that are related to money laundering and the financing of terrorism. So you can see the relationship. Why is a fit and proper person to be a guest of honor and be involved in the launch? And even last year is the one who launched the 2016 report. In 2015, it was the then Commissioner General of the Zambia Revenue Authority who invited other senior government officials were not available, but he's a senior enough and representing one of the major collaborating institutions. So there's never been any fuss about launching the report or even the contents. So I'm actually equally perplexed that 2017 has received such reactions. It's in a way it's good because it puts the matter in the public arena for debate. What is important is that the public need to be informed. Let them hold views, balanced views across. If there are those who still claim this was a rumor, I would suggest that they give details as to why they think it's a rumor, that we are disseminating rumors. We would be very, very keen to hear the specifics. So if they think our action is not in line with the law, let us hear what they mean by that. Because the Trends report, and I would like to invite the public, those who have the time, just Google Austrac for Australia. Then there is in Canada, for example, you have what is called FinTrack. You've got FIU India, you've got FICA in South Africa, you've got FIU in Malawi, you've got all these things all over India. Just Google any of them and see what the reports they generate and how they report what they've been doing. We are not doing anything different. I think what is happening is that there's a heightened public interest, and that I believe is good for the government to be able to hear public sentiments. And that is important because we must all be publicly accountable. Yeah.
Now, as we come to the end of the interview, anything that you would want, the nation to know in terms of your operation and maybe expectations of what you will be able, to give to the public to understand what is happening in our country?
I think financial crimes cannot be resolved by the FIC or even law enforcement. It requires the active participation of all citizens and all persons resident in this country. They could be expatriates, they could just be other non-Zambians who are here. Everyone has to participate. Because for these activities to take place, they involve the same ordinary people. You get my point? And that requires a concerted effort. We must make it uncomfortable for people who want to commit financial crimes to feel they can succeed. And I really hope even the members within the APF who have reservations about our report will agree with me that we need to make this country difficult for people wishing to commit financial crimes. We need a common dedication to that. And at the same time, at least for as long as I'm with the FIC, we'll always behave in the fullest extent of professional integrity and objectivity, because it is extremely important, and we'll always strive to cooperate with all our colleagues in law enforcement, reporting entities, because unless we work together, we'll never succeed.
Thank you so much for your time, and so that at least the nation can see and get to hear what is happening in your organization.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I've been talking to Mr. Kasanga John, who is the acting chairman for FIC, that is Financial Intelligence Center, just to make sure that they give us updates and reports of all that which is happening. For those of you who still have, doubts on what is happening, the best you can do is get these copies and share and read what is there. Where you're not convinced, find where you can be able to be assisted and get, the right information. This has been Matthew Ndandwa. Until next time, bye-bye.
I said